Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Birney are taking a look at race number 6 at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. One of 9 graded stakes races on the card. It's the Grade 3 Gulfstream Park Sprint. Bet it with a DRF Bets account, because when you sign up at bets.drf.com, you immediately get to double your action. You bet 100, you get 100 with your sign-up bonus. Let's meet the field for the Grade 3 Gulfstream Park Sprint, and the key to this race is whether pace really does make the race, because the number 1 Recruiting Ready, the 6-5 morning line favorite, is not only the class of the race, he looks like the controlling speed.
And, you know, you go through and look, he's won 6 times in his career. They've all been in gate-to-wire fashion. He's drawn down on the rail. The only real question for me is the horse drawn just to his outside, My Chinamato, who, from a class standpoint, is not nearly as good or classy, doesn't stack up to Recruiting Ready's level. But if he can be a bit of a nuisance and poke ahead in front, is that enough to soften up Recruiting Ready and potentially make him vulnerable at a short price? If it's not, I think Recruiting Ready could whistle in this race. I
really liked what the Sagamore folks did with Recruiting Ready, who was always a talented sprinter since day one, way back in 2016 as a 2-year-old. It looked like he went off form a little bit in the True North. They gave him plenty of time to recover. Off of a 6.5-month layoff, he won the Gravesend with a triple-digit buyer, and then he gave one of the best sprinters in the country, whether it be dirt or turf, World of Trouble, all that horse could handle last time out in the Gulfstream Park off the turf sprint at 5 furlongs. Recruiting Ready, you're absolutely right, is the speed. Timeform US agrees. Timeform US not only agrees, they have a blue bar which favors horses on or near the early lead, and Recruiting Ready, according to this Timeform US pace projector, is as loose as he wants to be after the first quarter mile. You talked a little bit about My Chinamato, and yes, he does have some speed, but his most recent win came for a $30,000 beaten claiming tag, and his speed might only be there for a quarter mile or such. So Recruiting Ready might merely have to deal with My Chinamato, shrug him off, open up the lead, and hold off the closers.
To be honest with you, if it plays out the way the pace projector is suggesting, I think Recruiting Ready could just absolutely err in this spot. It just really does. It boils down to, in my opinion anyway, how much pressure can My Chinamato put on him, and how long can he stick around? Can he stick around for the opening half mile, the opening 3/8, as opposed to just showing brief speed and then getting put in his back pocket?
Perhaps My Chinamato is in here as sort of a rabbit for his uncoupled stablemate, who will be an equally long price, and the number 3 Millionaire Runner, who actually won an off-the-turf stakes race at Gulfstream at 1.25 miles last year during the non-championship meeting. This horse is cutting back in distance. He's been beaten double-digit lengths in his last 4, and rabbit or no rabbit, it's hard to imagine him pulling off a shocking upset.
Yeah, from a number standpoint, he's just very, very slow, and then you factor in, again, the distance difference where he's going to be cutting back. He's going to be coming from probably dead last in here. I just think he's got a lot against him.
I wouldn't sleep on a horse like Storm Advisory, Matt. You had a really nice opinion on him 2 starts back. The last time he sprinted, that was the Grade 3 Mr. Prospector, and he was 16-1, and he got a nice ride from Robbie Alvarado that day. He just caught Todd Pletcher's Cold Front, who came right back and whistled in a 2-turn race at Oaklawn Park and looks like a serious horse. Last time out in the Fred Hooper, I thought Storm Advisory ran evenly. It was kind of a weird race. There wasn't a lot going on with position changing. I don't think he liked the sloppy track at all. You'll notice he has never won on a sloppy track. If there is some pace up front, at least Storm Advisory can work out a tracking trip while in the clear.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think if you can get something close to that Mr. Prospector effort, he'll at least be in with a puncher's chance. There is a part of me that wonders, and I know he has a number of victories at 6. I wonder if he's a little bit better at a little bit longer sort of a distance, 6.5 or 7 furlongs going 1 turn. I didn't like the Fred Hooper. I've talked about that a number of times. But I'm not going to hold that against this horse. I don't think that's really the race that you want to use as sort of the barometer for him, whether or not he fits. But you said it. I mean, it boils down to pace. Is he going to get something to run at?
That's a major question, but the Hooper's been fairly productive. Unbridled Juan, who finished 4th, came back to run 3rd in the stake at Laurel with a 94 buyer. And we saw Coppertown last week finish 7th, come back to run a decent 2nd behind another Pletcher monster at Gulfstream in the House Hope with a 96 buyer speed figure. I think Santiamen has a puncher's chance if there's a little bit of pace up front. 2 starts back was his first race off of a very long layoff, and he was rolling late to get beat ahead. And last time out, he caught XY Jet in a paceless race. You're not beating XY Jet in a paceless race, but he did enough running to finish 2nd to make me think he's cycling up to a good one in his 3rd start back. He's just a little slow on paper.
I picked him second in here for all the reasons you laid out. That most recent run, I think it's even better than perhaps it looks. There was no pace that day, and again, it's XY Jet. You're not going to run him down over a sloppy sealed track. I just do think that there's a chance that perhaps he finally takes that step forward that he hasn't really yet from a numbers standpoint. I think maybe he can get up into that sort of low 90 range, and if he can do that, maybe that's good enough to run second.
I always say nice things about Sweet on the Ladies, the number 6, even though he hasn't won a race since June of 2017, because this horse always seems to bring it against the good competition. Note that he has stakes placings at 10-1, 13-1, 35-1, 91-1, 95-1 on his record. He runs to the level of his competition. The problem is in this race, he is a one-run closer, and if the Timeform US pace projector is correct, he is really up against it. But he's a cool little horse.
Yeah, he cashes checks for the connections. He goes out there, he runs, he gets a piece every now and then at giant prices. Again, though, he doesn't really love to win, and also from a tactical standpoint, he's up against it.
Formulator fact for the 4, Quixote, who pulled off an upset in the Sunshine Million Sprint last time out. The trainer over the past year on dirt with last out winners, 36% winners, 11 for 11 on the board, and a $3.14 return on investment. We take a look at our top selections for the Gulfstream Park Sprint, and Matt, maybe I'm tilting at windmills a little bit with Quixote in the Sunshine Million Sprint, because when you watch that race, you're never going to get a better pace scenario than the one Quixote got. There was a vicious speed duel between the aforementioned XY Jet and Ray's Warrior, and Quixote took advantage. I'm going to take a little bit of a different viewpoint in that I think Quixote, an old class master, is coming back into form. The race on dirt prior to the Sunshine Million Sprint, he won very, very easily, and he was able to stay a little closer to the pace. And I'm hoping in this spot he can sit third and attack Recruiting Ready on the turn. We'll see if Quixote is sharp enough to take down a real tough speedster.
You brought up the way that race played out, and I agree with you. You're never going to get such a perfect situation. The good news is with a horse like Quixote, I don't think he has to come from 100 out. I think he can be a little bit closer if absolutely needed. And in a race like this, he's probably going to need to be. I wouldn't be stunned at all to see Arad be a little bit more aggressive, and perhaps he's sitting third and behind those two horses that are going to be out there on the speed. And you know what? Maybe you're not sold on Recruiting Ready. I mean, we've said it in the past that you throw a little bit of a straw in his path. He's probably not going to go on with it. If that's the case, Quixote, he's in good form. He's coming into this nicely. And again, maybe he's not going to be the favorite in here. Maybe he's going to be in that 2-1, 5-2 range, which would be very fair.
For me, this is a similar situation as the Devona Dale. I think Recruiting Ready would be my lone A in multiple race wagers. I would use Quixote as a B, but if Quixote is a playable price on the win end, I will take a slight shot against him. I'm going 4, 1, 8, and 5. You think Recruiting Ready has found the right field and will go gate to wire. Give me numbers.
I think it also helps. Again, I can't overstate that rail. I think you just got to go if you're Luis Saez. There's really nothing to think about. I went 1, 5, 4, 8 in here just because Santiamen, I just think he might be a little bit more intriguing from a numbers standpoint as opposed to Quixote.
That horse has some upside as well. I don't think we've seen his best. While it's possible we've seen the best of some of these other veterans. Fun race, the Grade 3 Gulfstream Park Sprint. Again, one of many, many graded stakes races at Gulfstream on Saturday. So after you do your homework, you're going to want to go to bets.drf.com, sign up for a DRF Bets account, and double your action with DRF Bets. Ready, set, bet. Approximate post time for the Gulfstream Park Sprint and Recruiting Ready, 2 o'clock Eastern. Best of luck.